This is the 11th video of the Forged Fiction series. If you haven't seen the other videos in this series, check out the Forged Fiction playlist on our channel. You can click on the link in the description, or click the card in the top right corner of the screen. So far in this series, we have examined all 4 Gospels, along with all the Pauline forgeries. We even had an episode on the Book of Romans. This video will be similar to the latter. The Book of Galatians is an authentic Pauline letter. It was written to the church members in Galatia. In his letter to the Galatians, he discusses his view on Gentile Christians and the Mosaic law. However, difficulties start at the get-go. Galatia was not a single church. It was a region in Asia Minor where Paul had set up many churches. Because of this, the way he signs it brings up a few questions. "See what large letters I use as I write to you with my own hand." Galatians 6:11. This was actually a very common technique in antiquity. People would dictate their writings to scribes and sign it in a very distinct way. In this case, Paul apparently wrote in much larger letters. Since he dictated the letter, did he dictate it verbatim? Or was the scribe meant to write what he thought Paul was going for? Because there were many churches, did Paul write many letters? Or did Paul write one letter and mean for it to be circulated through the churches? We just don't know, and it is likely that we will never know. Once the letter was in circulation, it was surely copied. But mistakes must have been made in its transmission. The earliest form of Galatians we have is a fragmentary piece, meaning it's incomplete. It's called P46, because it was the 46th New Testament papyrus to be cataloged. It dates back to 200 CE, approximately 150 years after Paul wrote to the Galatians. Our earliest text is nowhere near the original, so it's hard to know where all the scribal errors occur. But there are a couple places where it's clear current Bibles have the wrong translation or other glaring mistakes. The first and most obvious scribal change to the text occurs in Galatians 1:8-9. This is probably my favorite scribal change because it's so obvious. I've been wanting to get to it for a long time. "But even if we, or an angel from heaven, should preach a gospel other than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse. As we have already said, so now I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let them be under God's curse." There seems to be a whole conversation missing in between the two verses. Galatians 1:8 makes a claim, and Galatians 1:9 is alluding back to that claim. It looks more like a reminder of the claim than a mere repetition. From the verses alone, it looks like a whole discussion is missing, in which there was a necessity to repeat the claim, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let them be under God's curse. As we discussed earlier, the letter to the Galatians was dictated to a scribe. Sometimes this resulted in errors from faulty hearing, such as the case with Galatians 4:28. "Now you, brothers and sisters, like Isaac, are children of promise." The interesting thing about this verse is the controversy about the word you. We have many copies of this Greek manuscript, and they differ on the correct translation. Some manuscripts suggest the word is we, while others suggest the word is you, or ye. The Greek words sound so similar that it's easy to see how the mistake could have been made. No matter what the original text was, our modern Bibles actually differ depending on what manuscripts they're using. Did Paul originally include himself in this verse? The world may never know. Truth is, there's been a lot of scholarship concerning the textual history of Galatians, and our current Bibles tend to have a pretty good translation of our best texts. There have been many variations on the text over the years, and different manuscripts show scribal changes and additions. But when we compare all of them, we come to a good understanding of the text. Many of the changes were made in different regions to portray different theologies. Some of the changes caused big differences in theologies, while others were minor and really just putting words in a slightly different order. If you want to know more about the text of Galatians and its history, I suggest picking up Stephen Carlson's book, The Text of Galatians and Its History. But that's all for this episode. For further reading, check out On the Historicity of Jesus by Richard Carrier, David Fitzgerald's Nailed, Bart Ehrman's Forged, and Bart Ehrman's Misquoting Jesus. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and if you like the content, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. And if you really love us, consider supporting us on Patreon. Be sure to share if you learned something, and we'll see you next time.